Hi, I'm Anthony F. Elmore in downtown Memphis on the mighty Mississippi River, bringing you another hot and fiery Black Memphis history lesson. Those of you watching this video, I'm Anthony F. Elmore. I am the father of independent filmmaking in Memphis. In Memphis, I was robbed of the honor and the accolades associated to being the father of independent theatrical filmmaking in Memphis. You see, the Memphis Census records list Memphis as the most populated city of black people in America. While we are the most populated blacks in America, there did not exist a chronological Black Memphis history until 2019, whereas I wrote, produced, directed, and narrated the film 200 Years of Black Memphis History. In Memphis, I face not only white racism, I face black-on-black racism, whereas in 2019, my film 200 Years of Black Memphis History was not allowed to be a part of the Memphis 200 bicentennial celebration. Now, today my topic is Black Memphis History, the WLOK story. You see, by Anthony F. Elmore. I personally know the owners of WLOK radio station, Art and Dorrit Gilliam. This originally was an over 1 hour movie. We thought that it might be inappropriate to go beyond 1977 when Art Gilliam acquired WLOK, making it Memphis' first black-owned radio station. One of the most educational stories I produced was Black Memphis History, WDIA radio station, the cause of Black Memphis Cultural Revolution. See, unknown and untold is the birth of WLOK radio in Memphis is the result of the WDIA Black Cultural Revolution. See, in regards to Anthony F. Elmore and WLOK, because I am Memphis African American curator of Black Memphis history, I provide an anthropological, sociological, and historical history of WLOK radio that is unknown and untold. However, in order to clearly understand WLOK is associated with other aspects of Black Memphis history. You see, now, what may seem unrelated to WLOK today is my video titled Black Memphis History, Dr. J.E. Walker and the E.H. Crump Compromise of the 1940s. If you want to understand WLOK radio station today, you should watch my video titled Black Memphis History, Church of God in Christ. You see, there is so much to unpack regarding WLOK story. In order to understand WLOK, you must see my video, Black Memphis History, The Story of Stacks by Anthony F. Elmore. You see, WLOK's history started in 1956, 22 years before WLOK became a black-owned radio station. Let's get back into Black Memphis history and WLOK radio by Anthony F. Elmore Sr. Let's get into the story. You see, you should look on the WLOK website and learn history that they recorded. Now, if you want to learn Black Memphis history, the story of WLOK, look to me, Anthony F. Elmore. The most significant of WLOK is the fact that WLOK became the second black program station in Memphis. This is significant, as we said in this video titled WDIA radio station, the cause of Black Memphis Cultural Revolution. See, WLOK strengthened and even further enhanced the Memphis Black Cultural Revolution. Yes, WLOK was white-owned, but so was WDIA. But the Black Cultural Revolution moved forward with WLOK. You see, On the WLOK website, it reads, a group of popular disc jockeys increased WLOK's popularity. DJs like Dick Kane Cole and Hunky Dory increased WLOK's ratings. Now, when I read this, I'm shocked that WLOK have this on their website, and it is an outright a residue of white supremacy. See, the question is, who in the hell is Hunky Dory? I challenge anybody to find a picture of Hunky Dory. See, Hunky Dory was a trademark name, and it was a part of WLOK's racist past, whereas white owners of WLOK attempted to limit black identity via making its personalities by a name whites wanted them to be. You see, this is what I encourage those who are watching this video to do. I would like you to purchase the book. It's titled Battling the Plantation Mentality, Memphis and the Black Freedom Struggle by Lorie B. Green. Using my words and insulting people at WLOK, I will quote directly from her book about the WLOK radio station, and instead of listening to the words of Anthony F. Elmore. Now, let's listen to what Lorie B. Green said about WLOK. She says, WLOK in particular developed a special relationship to black Memphis youth on one hand and to Stacks on the other. Members of the generation sitting in at downtown lunch counters associated with WDIA with their parents' generation, and they devoted much of their own listening time to WLOK. You see, purchased in 1956 by the OK Group, which owns several black-oriented stations in the South, WLOK had originated as WCVR, an independent black-oriented station, begun. You see, in 1954, it began on Beale Street. WLOK eventually hired such talented black racial personalities as Dick Kane Cole, Joan E. Golden, Al Bell, Bill Terrell, Bill Adkins, and Reverend Jones. You see, a typical part of the unique relationship that developed between black-oriented radio, independent record companies, and youth listeners was someone from Stacks rushing over to WLOK with a just recorded test in hand to see how WLOK's young audiences would react to it. Now, this is from the book of Lorie B. Green. You know, these are my words. WLOK was a testing ground. They made a record at Stacks, then they rushed the record to WLOK to see how youth liked the records. Now, let's get back to the words of the book by Lorie Green. Now, let's get back to that. You see, she wrote, conversely, WLOK DJ and later Stacks executive Al Bell who spent hours at Stacks at record stores checking out the latest releases, were more popular among teens there, and he helped break new recordings by playing them repeatedly on his show. You see, Al Bell was a DJ, a youth DJ in Arkansas, where he was raised at. You see, and on his show he would go to record stores and he'd test recordings. Now, let's get back to what Lorie Green is saying. She says, he also helped break new recordings by playing them repeatedly on his show. Bell, who had started on KOKY in Little Rock while in high school, entertaining black and white teens even as the 1957 school crisis unfolded and worked with Dr. King in the SCLC before coming to WLOK, became a role model in Memphis. See, he began his radio career in Memphis by refusing to broadcast under the OK Group's trademark name, Hunky Dory. Instead, he was Al Bell. Likewise, Joni Golden refused to become Dizzy Lizzie, instead naming herself the Golden Girl. WLOK's radio personalities who appeared regularly at dances, community events, and civil rights marches became heroes to black youth. Al Bell, as a youth, went to train with Dr. Martin Luther King. And during the training with Martin Luther King, they were on marches, on peaceful, non-violent marches. And the white people who would set things at them, they learned how to resist and have peaceful protests. Well, they were on a march one day, and a white man spit on Al Bell. Al Bell reached in his pocket and pulled that switchblade out, and he ran after this white man. He was gonna cut him. And the people at the SCLC grabbed Al Bell and told him he was wrong and why he did this. Dr. Martin Luther King sat down with Al Bell and told him that it's a peaceful march. He shouldn't have had that switchblade with him, and he should not have done that, and he could ruin them by coming out with that switchblade. To make a long story short, Al Bell, after leaving Dr. Martin Luther King in Nashville, called Dick Kane Cole and asked him that he'd like to get a job. At this time, it was WLOK that hired Al Bell. Let's get back to the words of Lorie Green. You see, when they moved to the 2nd Street at Talbot in the late 1950s, now this is from the book on the Plantation Mentality by Lorie B. Green. You see, it says, in the late 1950s, the WLOK placed its white management and sales personnel on one half of the building and its black DJs in the other, and each having its own interests. You see, and in 1968, the NAACP picketed WLOK for its racist hiring practices, which excluded blacks from management positions. You see, outside Stax and WLOK struggles over desegregation, police brutality, and black political power persisted. Nevertheless, the early efforts of Stax and WLOK personnel to reach out to black and white youth held out possibilities for a post-Jim Crow popular culture that nourished black pride in a context based on mutual respect. We've told you about Al Bell. Let me tell you the story about WLOK's William Terrell. William Bill Terrell was born in 1941 in Memphis. He finished the public schools in Memphis and went to Fisk University after college. Bill returned to Memphis to begin his radio career. His interest in radio occurred in Memphis in the 6th grade. He was interested along with his best friend, who became interested in radio. One day, these young kids decided to go to the radio station to see if they could get employment. Now, the radio station was WDIA, and as William Terrell says, we really didn't know where we were going, and we actually ended up getting off the bus much earlier than we should have, and ended up walking in the snow for about 2 miles to WDIA. The program director told us that he didn't have an opening and it wasn't time for us. Now, Bill Terrell later tells the story. He says, later in the 10th grade, we proposed a program called, quote, the Teenage Beat. They liked the idea and that is where the radio career started in the 10th grade and lasted through high school. See, Terrell returned to Memphis for his junior year, transferred from Fisk and into what was then Memphis State University. He continued his career at WLOK. See, at the time, he wanted to come back to WDIA, but they told him that they did not have a slot at that particular time. So he reached out to Dick Kane Cole, and Dick Kane Cole helped him to get a slot at WLOK. He had come to the point where he was doing morning drive, while at this time Memphis, as it was across the nation, still had separate water fountains. It was segregation all over. So broadcasting was so important to connect people with what was going on in all over, and different kinds of things that were important in their lives, and for them to do as well as they could in those conditions of segregation. So one of the main reasons he said that I was at WLOK. Now, I quit WLOK. See, I had 2 kids, but I did it because of principle. The people at that station asked me with one of the owners, to meet one of the owners who was coming to town. This sort of backfired, and what happened was I was supposed to have been the culprit in the request of the meeting. The meeting was for the purpose of how we were treated. We felt by the management in terms of disrespect and lack of respect. Also about raising salary, which was very important. You see, as you go further with the story of William Terry, see, well, what happened was he got a job concurrently at WLOK, and he had a job. He did WLOK in the morning, and Bill Terrell did WLOK in the evening. You see, this is what he writes. He said, well, at WDIA, he was known as Youngblood. Now, this was, I didn't like the nickname, to state that when I was at LOK, they wanted the name because that was part of the radio industry at that time. They wanted to assign the nickname to you. At LOK, they had a regular slot, the person they call Hunky Dory, in which they don't care if somebody new moved to the slot. That person was Hunky Dory, and they wanted to. They called me Wild Bill Terrell. You see, I said wild on my show, and I would say wow, W-O, Wild Bill. But of course the audience took that as saying wild. That was a part of the radio in terms of many times when I mentioned Youngblood. This is what WDIA did. This is a name they gave me because this is what they wanted to portray to the audience. That okay, we got a young person in the time slot. We know the importance of purchasing power of young people. We know that they make a significant part of the audience, so they'll sign that young blood to go along with the youth appeal. Now, I quit WLOK. I had 2 kids. I did it because of principle. Now, let me, Anthony of Elmore, tell you about Dick Kane Cole. You see, I graduated with his daughter, Evelyn Cole. You see, historically, Dick Kane Cole was part of what I call the Black Memphis Cultural Revolution. Just as they had stars on WDIA, Dick Kane Cole was an influential celebrity. Both blacks and whites listened to his WLOK show. Look at this picture. They had this celebrity wrestler in Memphis named Sputnik Monroe. They had a wrestler named Sputnik Monroe and Billy Wicks, and we were just watching him on TV on Saturday. Now, look at this picture. What came out was Sputnik Monroe loved Dick Kane Cole, and Dick Kane Cole loved Sputnik Monroe. You see, check out the picture. Now, this is Dick Kane Cole at Stax. You see, Stax and WLOK were partners. See, Stax makes a new record and tests the record on WLOK. It was black anchors who used their position to help Stax, and this story should be told by WLOK. You see, it was Dick Kane Cole that got Al Bell the job at Stax. This black Memphis history, Al Bell was working at WLOK, and what happened was Al Bell had a job to work in Washington, D.C., and he did not want to leave the job. But what happened was David Porter begged, and the people at Stax begged Al Bell to take the job in Washington, D.C., because they were trying to get their music played of the South and Stax music at stations in Washington, D.C. And what happened was, it was Al Bell who agreed to take the job in Washington, D.C. so they could actually play the records that was made at Stax. And this is how Al Bell helped to promote records in Washington, D.C. and help the word of Stax get known. Now, when I was a kid, my brother was quarterback for Father Bertrand High School. In fact, my brother and Bill Adkins, they graduated the same year. They went to Catholic school, Father Bertrand. You see, I remember that my brother he was the quarterback, and we blacks in Memphis would listen to the WLOK Game of the Week with Bill Terrell. My older brother used to spin records and DJ, and he used to call himself Wild Bill. He became Wild Bill Elmore. You see, we had no idea that Bill Terrell did not like that name. You see, Bill Terrell passed July the 15th, 2021, and he made a remarkable achievement. Many of us know today the fly jock, Tom Joyner. Did you know that the fly jock, Tom Joyner, once worked at WLOK radio station? Now, let's get back to the book, Battling the Plantation Mentality. You see, it says, in contrast, much soul music heard by WLOK and WDIA listeners in the mid-1960s showed that the freedom movement had opened up a cultural space for more explicitly political themes. Overwhelming responses to such recordings as Aretha Franklin's Respect, 1967 version of an Otis Redding song, and James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and Proud, 1968, suggest that music and lyrics of soul struck powerful chords with listeners. The artists themselves, meanwhile, concentrated increasingly on messages that made pride and respect central to the idea of black liberation. Working class black struggles in Memphis and other cities emerged in the cultural context, drawing on a similar language of black pride, manhood, and womanhood, yet imbued with distinct meanings. When Bill Terrell left WLOK, I was so hurt when he left Memphis. You see, we in Memphis grew up with a space that our parents did not have, and that is black radio. See, we in Memphis had two black-orientated stations. All of the stations were right on. We had a black message music. And I want to take you to 1967, where there's a song written by Curtis Mayfield titled We're a Winner. Let's listen to this song.
We're a winner, and never let anybody say, boy, you can't make it, cause some people mind is in your way. No more tears do we cry, and we have finally dried our eyes. We're moving on up, moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up now. We're moving on up. We're living proof and all's alert that we're two from the good black church. And we're a winner, and everybody knows it too. We just keep on pushing, like your leaders tell you to. You know, you may remember reading in your Jack Johnson publications, a whole lot of stations didn't want to play that particular recording. We're a winner. Can you imagine such a thing? Well, I would say the way I'm sure most of you would say, we don't give a damn, we're a winner anyway. Right on? Yeah, I got a little strength out there tonight. Putting fire under us. Out of sight. It's all right now. We have just another version that we'd like to lay to you about here. Believing very strongly in equality and freedom for all, and especially we people who are darker than blue. Not to offend anyone, but basically telling it like it is. We're a winner, and never let anybody say, boy, you can't make it, cause some people mind is in your way. No more tears do we cry. The black boy done dried his eyes. And we're moving on up, moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up now, moving on up. There'll be no more Uncle Tom, at last that blessed day has come. And we're a winner, and everybody knows it too. We just keep on pushing, like Martin Luther told you to. And I don't mind leaving here to show the world we have no fear, cause we're moving on up, moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up, we're moving on up. So people get...
Let me explain to you how radio uplifted us in 1968 after Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. Black America was depressed and no one knew where to turn or what to do. A man had a vision that woke up Black America with one song that changed Black America. And I'm sure that WLOK played this song. I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but I want you to listen to this song that helped to bring Black America out of slumber. Let's listen to the song.
You're joining us at the legendary Apollo Theatre in Harlem for A&E's James Brown Say It Loud documentary, presented by Verizon.
I got something that makes me want to shout. I had to have a determination to be somebody.
He showed me what was possible. Not that I could do it, but I could dream of it.
It was near and dear to our hearts to be able to show him in the light of a father, a husband, a humanitarian.
And a godfather of soul. Thank you so much.
I created funk, God and me.
He was this amazing genius and gave so much to the world.
I'm a black man. I've got to take part in my cause. I got to take part in my fight for freedom, for equality, and take a stand where it's needed.
His music was incredibly important to our community, to our people.
Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud.
Tell the viewers how you went about directing this and achieving that unseen footage.
You know, for me, this program really started with one question. In 1969, Look magazine on the cover asked the question, is James Brown the most important black man in America? And I was like, wow, that is a provocative question. That's an important question to try to answer, and I wanted to answer that question.
That song was dangerous, aggressive, and political.
It's the original Black Lives Matter.
What have you learned from the godfather of soul, Mr. James Brown?
When he said, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud," was at a time when it was almost taboo. So what we can take from that is that level of understanding of who we are and actually proceed and push forward, utilizing that energy from 2020 and translating that protest into policy.
Thank you.
The way I look back, I say, God, how did I get this far?
This is an amazing historic documentary.
I'm Anthony F. Elmore in downtown Memphis on the mighty Mississippi River, bringing you another hot and fiery Black Memphis history lesson.